Hey everyone, it's Gina and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be comparing damp styling to wet styling. I always find it fascinating how with naturally curly hair you can change up just one thing in your styling routine and completely change your look. It's really interesting how everyone has different techniques and there's so many different techniques that work well on different types, so there's not a right or wrong way to do your hair. It's always important to be experimenting and testing different techniques to find out what works best for your hair. So the amount of water that's in my hair when I'm styling today is the only thing that I'm going to be changing. Everything else is going to be staying the same. So I did the same clarifying shampoo, same deep conditioner, same styling product, same styling routine and techniques. Everything is the same except for the amount of water in my hair. So everyone has their different version of wet versus damp as well. So what I'm considering wet styling is having enough water in my hair to where you hear that squishy sound when you're styling. I use a spray bottle. I also usually have wet hands when I'm styling. And overall, my roots are pretty much wet. When I'm going to be showing you a damp styling routine, my hair has been towel dried with my hair repair towel, which is a really absorbent cotton towel. I've talked about this towel before. That gives you kind of an idea on how wet versus how damp my hair is going to be. I'm not going to be talking about soaking wet styling. I personally don't think soaking wet styling is the best for me just because my hair is higher porosity, so it would take it so long to dry if I had my hair completely saturated. My hair absorbs a lot of product and a lot of water quickly, so I just don't think completely soaking wet styling is best for me. And that's basically when people apply their styling products in the shower when their hair is like dripping, and I just waste too much product when I do that and it just takes too long to style. So I'm not going to be doing that. So let's go ahead and get started first with the wet styling routine. So I'm actually first starting out in my tub, and you guys probably have seen this styling routine in the last video I posted all about how to humidity proof your curls for summer. This is the same routine, but I'm going to show you more of how I actually styled in this video. I already rinsed out my deep conditioner. I'm just hanging over the tub. It's pretty dripping at this point. So I do squeeze out the excess water. Like I said, I have high porosity damaged hair, so I don't want to leave too much water in there. And then I'm going to go in with the Bounce Curl leave-in conditioner. I've been using a leave-in conditioner a lot in the summertime versus a cream. It's just a little bit more lightweight. I usually apply leave-in conditioners to pretty wet hair because they just tend to absorb better that way. This also kind of helps me get my fingers through my hair after I've rinsed out my deep conditioner and just helps kind of start the curl clumping process. So then after I apply the leave-in conditioner, I do kind of take my hair repair towel and absorb some of the water. I don't like my roots to be soaking wet like I was saying because it will just take way too long to dry that way. I did want to hop in and clarify that when you see me doing this, I'm actually not absorbing all the water in the lengths of my hair. I'm just sort of blotting my roots. When I do go in and style my hair is still pretty wet. So I am going to be sectioning off my hair. I like sectioning my hair because I just get more of a full coverage when I'm applying my styling gel. And I'm first going to be using my Denman brush to define some of my curls. So I already have a leave-in conditioner in my hair. You could use a cream at this point too, but I'm basically just using the Denman brush to help create some curl clumps. One of the pros to using more water in your hair when you are styling your hair is usually you get bigger curl clumps. If you're really trying to get good definition and if you have a lot of hair, then curl clumps are going to be awesome. Whereas if you have lower density hair or super fine hair, you might not want as many curl clumps because then your hair is not going to have as much volume and it could be more weighed down if you have bigger curl clumps. So after defining each section with my Denman brush, now I'm going to go in with my styling gel. I do use quite a bit of gel, and I find that I tend to use more gel, I think, when my hair is pretty wet because I don't feel like I'm getting a cast on my hair. I can't really feel the gel in my hair as much. The gel that I'm using is from Bounce Curl. It's the light cream gel. This does have water as the first ingredient. So if you think about it, already has water in the product, and then when you're diluting it with too much water, it's not going to have as strong of a hold. So if that's what you're going for and you don't like a hard, crunchy hold, then you could definitely dilute it. So when I'm applying the Bounce Curl Light Cream Gel, I'm sort of glazing it over the sections and also scrunching it. The thing with wet styling is you usually hear that squishy sound when you are scrunching your hair, and that tells you you have enough water in your hair. However, if you scrunch your hair and you just see a ton of water pouring out and a ton of product, then you could just be losing product and that could be wasteful. Also, if you have too much water in your hair, it could also weigh your hair down so you could have less volume. but you usually have less frizz because frizz is usually a result of dry hair. So if you're hydrating your hair with water and locking that in with a gel, then you're going to be locking in that moisture and you're not going to have as much frizz. So I'm just gradually working back up to the top of my head. Usually when I get to the top of my head, I like to angle my hair backwards with my Denman brush. That just helps keep it out of my face and gives me more volume at the root. So I usually have to re-wet my hair in between sections because my damaged ends dry super fast. And also when I'm wet styling, I usually have wet hands too when I'm putting the gel in my hands, and that just kind of helps spread the hair more evenly. So after I'm finished styling, then I take my hair repair towel and just scrunch out some of the excess water. You could just kind of walk around and let it air dry for a little bit, and I am going to do that, but I do find that I have to remove some of the water and product or else it's just gonna take way too long to dry. But because this towel is a flat weave cotton material, it's not gonna cause any frizz. I also don't do a lot of pulsing either when I'm squeezing, I just gently press upwards. But you can remove some product when you are doing this, so sometimes I find that I have to go back in with another layer of styling gel right before I diffuse if I notice some areas getting frizzy or that they don't have enough product. But you'll notice that my hair is not dripping at this point. I've squeezed out all the excess water and I have enough product in my hair. So now I'm just gonna let my hair sit for about 5 minutes until I start to get a little bit of a gel cast. I don't like my hair to get too much of a cast before I diffuse because then I don't get the shrinkage that I like and my ends tend to just kind of fall stringy and flat. So I do have a video all about how I diffuse my hair upside down by plopping my hair and hovering the diffuser. That's to help prevent frizz, so I will put that video down below if you want to see how I usually diffuse. So the diffusing time, I didn't time it exactly, but it definitely took around 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and I could still feel some dampness in my hair, so that is a downside to styling your hair when it is pretty soaking wet because it's definitely going to take a lot longer to dry, especially if you have used very moisturizing products underneath. So if you used a really thick hydrating curl cream or if you used a very thick leave-in conditioner, you might notice that it just takes forever for your hair to dry because there's so much moisture within it. And if you have bigger curl clumps, it's also going to take longer to dry because the air is not getting into all of those curls as you're drying in. So here's what my final results look like after I have finished diffusing my hair, and you'll see that I do have good hold to my hair, but it doesn't really have that hard of a cast. I am going to finish off with a hairspray in just a minute, but I did want to show you how it looks. So now I'm going to flip my head over and shake out my roots. I just scrunched maybe once or twice. I didn't find that I need to do a lot of scrunching to break up the cast because I don't have a ton of cast at this point. So then to finish everything off, I'm going to use the Bounce Curl hairspray. This is an alcohol stronghold hairspray, so a little definitely goes a long way, and I've been using this in the summertime to help prevent frizz and help block out humidity. Final results, overall I have really great curl clumps. I did try and break up some of the curl clumps because I didn't want to have too many because I wanted to still get volume, but overall everything looks very defined and pretty controlled. It is very soft though. I don't feel like I have too much of a hard crunchy cast, and I like my results. So this is typically how I do style my hair with using more water in my hair. So now I'm going to show you the routine that I did when I damp styled my hair, which is the results you're seeing right now. So I'm first starting out with towel dried hair. This is a different hair repair towel that I have, that's why it's white. This one's a little bit smaller. So I did the same exact routine where I clarified using the Bounce Curl clarifying shampoo. I deep conditioned and then I rinsed out my deep conditioner. It's definitely starting to dry, so I am gonna wet down some areas because I want it to be evenly moisturized. I don't want it to have any areas that are frizzy and drying too much, although I'm going to keep the majority of my hair just damp, and I'm gonna make sure that my roots are also damp and not soaking wet. So I'm just using my Mr. Spray bottle to wet my ends that are drying really fast. I did notice that the areas of my hair that are super high porosity, where they're damaged on the ends, it's like the front highlighted pieces, those tend to dry really fast and get frizzy. So now I'm gonna go in with the Moisture Balance leave-in conditioner from Bounce Curl. It was a little bit weird applying a leave-in conditioner to damp hair, but you could add a little bit of water to your hands when you're doing this. If you have super low porosity hair though, you probably need a little bit more water to help it soak in. If you see any white residue on your hair when you're applying it, then you don't have enough water and it's definitely too dry. You don't wanna see that because that can just weigh down your hair and you tend to use a little bit more product because it's a little bit harder to spread when your hair is not very wet. So it helps to add a little bit of water to your hand, but I didn't have any problems with that. Like I said, since my hair is high porosity, it soaks up product very easily, so I didn't have any issues with any white areas showing by using my leave-in conditioner on damp hair. Another alternative would be to apply your leave-in conditioner when your hair is still dripping wet, and then put your hair in the towel or a t-shirt to absorb some excess water. So now I'm going to be sectioning my hair off. I did about 3 sections, maybe 4, just like I did on the last routine. So then I'm using my Denman brush again to define some curls. It felt kind of weird using my Denman brush on damp hair, but as long as your hair is not dry, it's fine. Just be very gentle. You don't want to pull or snap your hair, especially if it's damaged, because you cannot use the Denman brush on dry hair. So make sure you do still have some water in there. But my hair is not dripping or anything. So now I'm going to go in with the Bounce Curl Light Cream Gel. You'll see the amount that I use on each section. I do find that I have to use quite a bit of this. My hair just soaks it up, and I do like to get a strong hold. So I do use quite a bit. I am just raking this through my hair. You might be wondering, why are you breaking up all the curl clumps that you just created with the brush? But once I scrunch my hair, those usually come right back. And like I said, since I have that lower density hair, I can't just go with too many curl clumps, or else I will look like I hardly have any hair because everything's clumped together. So it wasn't too bad. I thought it would be really hard to apply the gel to damp hair, but it actually was not bad at all. I think because the Bounce Curl Gel does have water as the first ingredient. So I was able to use enough product and get it through my hair. You could also use your Denman brush after the gel just to help evenly distribute the product. Scrunching each section with some gel in my hands. You could wet your hands when you do this. You could also scrunch with your towel, but keep in mind that could remove some of the gel, and I want to make sure I do still have a good gel cast. So I'm just going to use my hands, and it was fine. It was not causing frizz. If your hair is starting to get too dry, then it will cause frizz when you are scrunching, because your palms will start to stick to your hair, and you don't want that to happen. So either wet your hands or have more water in your hair when you go in and scrunch. So as I'm scrunching, I'm not hearing that squishy sound at all, although it doesn't sound too dry. It still feels okay. So now I'm just working my way up to the top section. This area, I find that I do need a little bit more product, because those highlighted damaged pieces really just soak up the product and they get very frizzy. I did have to go in and add more water to my ends because they just dry so fast. So here's what my hair looks like when I am done applying the styling products. I feel like it looks really good. I actually don't see any frizz. I thought I would see a ton of frizz at this point. I noticed that the hair is more separated. It's definitely not as clumped together. When you're wet styling, you definitely get more clumps, so I feel like I'm gonna have more volume with this look. I can already feel a cast starting to set. That is one good thing about damp styling, is it doesn't take as long as your hair to dry. And if you have higher porosity hair or very frizzy hair, it helps for the gel cast to set more quickly. That way your hair is not going to get frizzy as you're moving around and as you're diffusing. So the quicker you can set the gel cast, the better if you have damaged hair. So now I'm done diffusing, and I wanted to show you up close. Some of my ends look so frizzy. It's really hard to show frizz on camera, but those areas that I was telling you are my problem areas that I do want to get trimmed. There are some leftover highlights. I have about 2 inches of them that I'm trying to grow out, and they tend to get very dry. So I did notice that these look very dry and frizzy compared to the rest of my hair, even though I had added more water. So to fix that, I usually just mix some gel and water on my hands and then just smooth back over them, and then hit them one more time with the diffuser on just a very low heat setting to set them back in place. So here's how it looks once the gel cast is completely set everywhere. My hair is probably 95% dry at this point. I did fix the frizzy end, so it looks a lot better. I do have a very strong gel cast. So then I'm just gonna let this sit for a little bit. I don't like to scrunch out the crunch right away. I just like to let everything sit, so I just kind of left it for like 15 minutes. So now I'm just flipping my head over and shaking out the roots. I am going to scrunch out most of the gel cast. I left probably 10 to 15% of it in my hair just because I am going to be outside today, so I want some of that gel cast to help prevent frizz and the humidity. So after I get my hair situated and how I like it, I'm going to spray a little bit of the Bounce Curl hairspray, trying to follow the exact same routine as last time. So here's my final results. I feel like I have so much more volume, I think because my curls are not quite as clumped together. My curls overall, like the curl clumps, look a little bit skinnier, which you have to be careful with that because you don't want it to be too stringy or anything. But I definitely get more volume that way. Since I have lower density hair, it definitely helps me to have smaller curl clumps, so I have more volume. It looks a lot like softer and fluffier, but I don't feel like I have a lot of frizz, which I'm surprised because I thought I was gonna have so much frizz with the damp styling. So let's compare the results side by side. The wet styling is on the left and the damp styling is on the right. The first thing that I noticed with the wet styling on the left is I have more definition and bigger curl clumps. However, on the right with the damp styling, I definitely have more volume, a little bit more separation in my curls, and I feel like there is more density in the inside layers. So just a little bit more volume down on the inside. It also seems like there is more shine on the wet styling on the left. I don't know if that's a difference in lighting here between these two clips, but it looks a little bit darker, a little bit more shiny on the wet styling versus the damp styling. So let me know what you guys think. What are the differences that you see between the two? So I would love to hear which one you prefer, and also let me know which one that you usually do when you're styling your hair, and be sure to tell me what you think your porosity is, because I think that's going to have a lot to do with how your hair turns out, whether if you damp or wet style. So I'm going to include some side-by-side photos for comparison on the blog post that goes with this video, and I will also list out the steps that I did to style and the products that I use. So I will put the link for that in the description box down below, along with all the product links. So that's it for today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you have not yet already, and I hope to see you back next week. Bye everyone.